Hello and welcome to the Learn English Lab, the show that helps you unlock fluency faster. I'm your host, Mike, and I'm so excited to be diving into a topic that's well close to my heart, movies. Joining me today is Sarah, an expert in using movies to, supercharge your language learning.
It's wonderful to be here.
You might be listening to this thinking, wait, movies can actually help me learn English? And the answer is yes. Today we're going deep on how choosing the right movies can help you master everything from everyday expressions to those tricky accents.
It's true. Think of it as like a personal language immersion experience right in your living room.
I love that. Now, our deep dive today uncovered something really interesting. A lot of these movie recommendations are actually grouped by your English level. So whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or already pretty advanced, there's a whole world of film out there ready to help you boost your skills.
What's so fascinating is how these categories reflect the natural progression of language learning. Beginners can benefit from simpler plots and clear pronunciation. As you gain confidence, you can handle faster speech, more complex themes, and even start picking up on slang.
That makes sense. So let's break it down. For all you beginners out there, what kind of movies are we talking about?
Well, think animated classics. Finding Nemo, Toy Story, movies like that. The visuals are so engaging and the language is clear and straightforward. They often have catchy songs, too, which is a great way to pick up new words and practice pronunciation.
Right, and those iconic lines you just can't help but quote, to infinity and beyond. Okay, so animations are a great starting point. Anything else beginners should be on the lookout for?
Movies with a strong narrator can also be really helpful. Think Forrest Gump, where you have Forrest recounting his incredible life story. That slow, deliberate pace makes it much easier to follow along. Plus, it's a classic.
It's true. I've probably seen that movie a dozen times, and I still catch something new each time. Now, what about our intermediate learners? What's the next step up in terms of movie choices?
This is where things get really interesting. Intermediate learners can start branching out into different genres and exploring movies with more intricate storylines.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give us some examples.
Well, the Harry Potter series is fantastic for this. You get exposed to a ton of British English, plus some fun vocabulary related to, the wizarding world. And of course, who doesn't love a good fantasy adventure?
Not me. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan.
Yeah.
But I'm also curious, for intermediate learners specifically, what are some of the language features they should be paying attention to in these movies?
That's a great question. At this level, you really start to grasp different accents. So in Harry Potter, you'll hear a variety of British accents, which is a good challenge. You'll also encounter more idioms and colloquialisms, which can be tricky but essential for sounding more natural.
So it's not just about the vocabulary anymore. It's about understanding how the language is actually used in everyday conversation.
Exactly. And that brings us to our advanced learners. You folks are ready for those cinematic masterpieces that push your boundaries.
All right, advanced learners, hit us with your best shot. What are some of those challenging but rewarding movies we should be adding to our watch list?
Well, think The Social Network or Inception. These films have fast-paced dialogue, thought-provoking themes, and they don't shy away from slang or more complex vocabulary.
So they really throw you right into the deep end of the language pool.
Absolutely. But that's where the real growth happens. And at this stage, you can also start appreciating how movies reflect different cultures and perspectives. The Big Sick, for instance, offers a fascinating glimpse into Pakistani and American cultures. Or Wonder Woman, which provides some historical context around World War I.
That's so true. As you become more comfortable with English, movies can become this incredible tool for exploring different worlds and viewpoints. But I think what's truly crucial here is making sure you choose a movie that you're genuinely interested in.
100%. If you're a foodie, why not try something like Julie and Julia? Or if you're fascinated by travel, Eat, Pray, Love might be your jam. The key is to find a movie that sparks your curiosity and keeps you engaged.
And hey, if there's a movie you've already seen and loved in your native language, watching it in English can be a great way to ease into things. You already know the plot, so you can focus on the nuances of the language.
That's such a good point. And don't be afraid to use subtitles. You can start with your native language if needed, then transition to English subtitles, and eventually try going subtitle-free.
I think that gradual approach is key. Start with what's comfortable and slowly challenge yourself as you go. And remember, it's not about understanding every single word right away. It's about enjoying the journey, picking up new vocabulary, and getting a feel for the natural rhythm and flow of the language.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to pause, rewind, or even look up words you don't understand. It's all part of the process.
Absolutely. It's about active learning, not passive watching. And speaking of active learning, we've got a lot more to cover. Coming up, we'll share some more specific movie recommendations for each level, get ready for some classic picks, some hidden gems, and maybe even a few surprises along the way. All right, movie buffs, let's get down to brass tacks. We got a whole queue of awesome movies waiting to be unlocked, and I know you're eager to hear which ones made the cut for each level.
Let's start with our beginner friends. Remember, at this stage, it's all about clear pronunciation. Simple vocabulary and engaging visuals, Finding Nemo and Toy Story are fantastic starting points. But we've got a few more gems to add to your watch list.
Hit us with them.
How about The Sound of Music? The songs are so catchy and a great way to practice pronunciation. Plus, the storyline is pretty easy to follow.
Oh, I can already hear those hills alive with the sound of English practice. I
Yeah.
love it. Okay, what else?
Another great one is Home Alone. It's hilarious, the plot is straightforward, and you'll pick up a ton of everyday vocabulary. Plus, Kevin's mischievous antics are sure to keep you entertained.
And don't forget, The Wizard of Oz. Classic story, simple language, and you'll get a bit of a musical element in there as well.
Excellent additions. Now, for our intermediate learners out there, we're stepping things up a notch. We've already mentioned Harry Potter and Forrest Gump, but there's a whole world of captivating films waiting to be explored.
Give us the scoop. What should our intermediate friends be adding to their movie nights?
If you're looking for a mix of humor and heart, The Internship is a great choice. It's set in the fast-paced world of tech, so you'll learn some business vocabulary and slang, but the dialogue is still pretty accessible.
Oh, that's a good one. And if our listeners are in the mood for something a little more glamorous and empowering, what would you suggest?
Definitely Legally Blonde. It's got great energy, the legal jargon is broken down nicely, and you'll even pick up some fashion vocabulary along the way.
Who says learning English can't be stylish? Okay, so we've covered beginners and intermediates. Now it's time for our advanced learners to show off their skills.
Advanced learners, you're ready for those cinematic masterpieces that really push your boundaries. The Social Network Inception, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Dark Knight trilogy.
Whoa, those are some heavy hitters.
Indeed. Think fast-paced dialogue, intricate plots and themes that make you really think. The Commitments, for example, throws you right into the heart of Dublin's music scene with some seriously authentic Irish accents.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. And you know, one thing that strikes me about these advanced level films is that they often deal with complex themes and ideas. Do you think that adds an extra layer of challenge for language learners?
Absolutely. It's not just about understanding the words, it's about grasping the nuances of the story, the characters' motivations, the underlying messages, and that requires a deeper level of engagement with the language.
So it's like a mental workout for your English skills.
Precisely.
Wow.
And I think that's what makes it so rewarding when you can follow along with a film like Inception or The Dark Knight. You know, you're really starting to master the intricacies of the language.
That's a great feeling.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on to some tips for actually learning with movies, I want to touch on something we discussed earlier. Choosing films you're genuinely interested in.
It's so important. If you're passionate about a particular genre or theme, you're much more likely to be engrossed in the film and absorb the language naturally.
It's true. If you're a sci-fi buff, dive into the Star Wars universe or get lost in the Lord of the Rings. If you're drawn to true stories, Catch Me If You Can and Into the Wild offer incredible narratives while exposing you to different accents and vocabulary.
Exactly. It's all about finding what resonates with you and using that as a springboard for your language learning.
And hey, even if a movie seems a little challenging at first, don't be discouraged. Remember those tools we talked about earlier? Subtitles, pausing, rewinding. These can all help you break down those language barriers and make the experience more enjoyable.
It's like having training wheels for your English. Use them when you need them and gradually gain the confidence to ride solo.
I love that analogy. All right, so we've talked about choosing the right movies for your level and interests. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of how to actually use these films to boost your English skills. We'll be right back after this. And we're back.
Ready to turn those movie nights into English learning marathons.
I know I am. So give us the inside scoop. What are your top tips for making the most of movies for language learning?
Well, first things first, don't be afraid to use those subtitles.
Yeah, those subtitles can be a lifesaver.
Start with subtitles in your native language if that feels more comfortable, and then gradually transition to English subtitles.
Makes sense.
And as you start feeling more confident, you can even try watching without subtitles for short stretches. See how much you can understand. Just challenge yourself a little.
I love that. Starting slow, working your way up. What else can our listeners do to make sure they're really getting the most out of the experience?
Don't be afraid. to hit that pause button. Or rewind. If you hear a word or phrase that you don't understand, don't just let it go. Hit pause, rewind, listen to it again.
Okay.
See if you can figure out the meaning from the context.
Right.
Or if you're really stumped, look it up. Use a dictionary, use an online resource, whatever works for you.
It's like having a personalized language tutor right there in your remote.
Exactly. And while we're on the subject of making it personal, do you take notes when you're watching a movie?
Oh, all the time.
Well, why not apply that to your English learning too? Keep a notebook handy or even a digital document on your phone or laptop. Just jot down any new vocabulary, any new expressions that you come across.
It's a great idea.
And write down the meaning, maybe an example sentence from the movie so you can remember it.
It's like building your own personal movie dictionary.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of, talking about it.
Okay.
Watch movies with friends, discuss them afterwards. It's such a fun way to practice speaking, to share your thoughts, to maybe even learn some new words from each other.
It's like starting your own little English club. I love it.
Right.
Well, before we wrap things up, do you have any final words of wisdom to inspire our listeners?
Just remember, learning a language, it's a journey. It's not a race.
Right.
Be patient with yourself. Celebrate those small victories. And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah, those mistakes are how we learn.
Exactly. Mistakes are proof that you're pushing yourself, that you're growing. So embrace those mistakes, learn from them, and keep moving forward.
That's a great way to look at it. And remember, everyone, choosing the right movie, that's just the first step.
It is.
The real magic happens when you actively engage with the language, make it your own, and have fun along the way.
That's the key right there. Have fun. So grab your popcorn, dim the lights, and get ready to unlock a world of English learning through the power of film.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that's a wrap on our deep dive into the best movies for learning English. A huge thank you to Sarah for joining us today and sharing your incredible insights.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And all of you listening out there, we hope you're feeling inspired to hit play on your English learning journey. Share your favorite English learning movies in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more language learning tips and tricks. Until next time, happy watching.